We're back with Russell Mayeaux. Russell, we were talking about black mold before we left.
Right.
And is that the worst one? Is that the bad boy?
It's one of the top in the categories. It's one of the top that's really bad.
In this region here, or
well, this
everywhere?
region, well, pretty much. If you have the black mold, the Stachybotrys, then you have a severe problem. And believe it or not, to answer your question, 50% of homes in America now have a severe mold problem.
Wow.
So that severe could mean that you've got the Stachy or the Aspergillus or the Penicillium, and they each have their own genus levels. So they're all just as dangerous. But the black mold, I'm finding in about 40% of my inspections that I do locally, and that's a large number. So the black mold is very popular in this area. Wow.
And we have that because of some of the environmental things we talked about before.
Correct. You're dealing with the humidity. We're close to the waterfront, so you have a constant breeze coming in, bringing water in. The humidity. The number one thing the problems and that boils down to is our homes we're building energy efficient, airtight.
Right. Absolutely.
What gets in can't get out. We carry mold spores in on our clothing, our pets, everything. So you open your door, mold spores come in. With the humidity inside the homes not being ventilated properly, then you've got a problem. That mold gets wet and it starts growing.
Okay. All right. So we were talking a little about how it got into our environments. Can you expand on that a little bit and tell us a little bit more about that? And like you said, we bring it in. So
right.
Is it so severe we should get rid of our cats? My cat comes in and out.
No, sir, not at all.
He's a little moldy too, as a matter of fact. I'm worried about him.
Believe it or not, pets are actually allergic to mold as well. I just found that out recently. But to answer your question, like you said, we bring it in our clothing. Every time we open our door, we open our window on a nice sunny day, we're looking for fresh air. We open our window, mold spores come through the screen because they're tiny, microscopic. And so they can come through a screen. We open our door in and out, doing our yard work, or kids coming home from school, their backpacks are carrying mold spores. And your pet's taking them out for a walk, they'll bring it in.
And once it's in, what happens then?
Once it's in, it's airborne.
Right.
It's going to continue to float around your air until it gets to the point it has enough moisture. Once it has enough moisture, then it's going to start growing and producing. And as far as the black mold, it has to have a certain amount of water or moisture. It's a wet, sticky substance, so it's not airborne. It'll stick to a wall and it'll sit there and it'll grow. It can grow from the inside of your wall from a small water leak. And then about 6 weeks later, you start seeing the black on your wall, but it's coming from the inside. So, but it'll stay airborne until it has enough moisture. Once it gets enough moisture, it starts fruiting, and then it starts growing. And that's when it starts producing those mycotoxins that make it sick.
All right, so I guess that's the reason that we see mold around sinks and things where there's moisture more than you do, say, in the living room than...
Right. Now, the mold that you see around your like ceramic fixtures or tile fixtures, those molds are really not dangerous molds. That's more of a slime mold that grows, like on non-porous surfaces.
A slime mold.
Right. That's the real slimy, nasty one.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Those can just be wiped away, with cleaner. The other molds that we're talking about that grow, they'll grow on non-porous material. Porous material, sorry.
Okay.
They'll grow on things that you can eat, like a cellulose product.
Oh, really?
And those are the ones that we have to be concerned with. And they can live in your carpets, they can live on your wall, and it just continue to grow.
But the ones that, I want to touch on this real quick. So the ones that are growing around your sink and a little bit of Clorox to clean that up, you don't have to worry about it too much. But the ones that are growing elsewhere are probably the ones that's going to be a problem. Let me ask you this now, who's at risk for health problems associated with exposure to the mold?
It's a very good question. The people that are most at risk are the immune suppressed people. That generally speaking is your children. They have a weaker immune system. They're not, fully grown yet and don't have the full immune yet that we have. So they tend to start having a lot of allergic problems and asthma problems at early ages. And then the other side is the senior citizens.
Oh, I see.
As they get older, their immune gets weaker. And then if they catch the flu quite easily. So they tend to get sick really fast and start having all kind of health problems.
Now, you mentioned earlier that some of your pets are affected by mold.
Believe it or not, they are. Pets are the number one source. If you have a real active dog, and all of a sudden he's starting to get lazy, doesn't do a lot, no energy no more,